Welcome to the Digital Diaries. I'm your host, Peter Woods, and today I am thrilled to have with me Paul Caffrey. Paul is an experienced sales professional who has courageously gone out as an entrepreneur and a creator, writing a book, The Work Before the Work. With that, he's a wealth of experience and helps other account executives and sales leaders to drive their highest performance in high pressure sales environments. Paul, a warm welcome to the Digital Diaries. How are you today?
I'm great, Pete. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the conversation.
Good, good. Well, look, let's start on a high level. Give us a little rundown of your background up to date before you went out on your own with the book.
Yeah, so over a 16-year period. It started out in science, in research science. Thought I was going to change the world. Then the recession happened, and I had the opportunity to research for free in my 20s, which was something I opted against.
Hmm.
So I moved to London and started working with a company called Sun Microsystems, who were acquired by Oracle while I was there. Some people who've worked in the industry a long time will have heard of them and will
Hmm.
be well aware. And at that point, then really got into sales, but followed it from a scientific approach. So I
Hmm.
was dropped in here in London with all these very competitive, very hungry salespeople. And my focus was, well, if I just deconstruct what the best are doing around me and I do that, that will probably be okay. Unfortunately, that did work. That made me get to being, within top three on the dashboard out of 60 to 100 people, and really enjoyed the time there. Came back to Ireland briefly and started selling cloud technology, which was mainly Microsoft Cloud at the time.
Hmm.
It was called BOS long before it was called Office 365. And this was in the days when I used to have to meet people and advise them not to go with the cloud because their internet wasn't there, or the solution maybe wasn't quite good enough for what they needed. It was really early days, but only 1% of the market were using it at the time. So there was still a massive amount of white space to go after. So did that for a number of years. I was involved in the launch in Ireland. Got the opportunity to move to the UK
Hmm.
and work with O2 Telefonica when they launched Office 365 there in 2013. And over a 4-year period, had the opportunity to contribute heavily towards taking them from zero to 100,000 users in a very short window. That was a really, really great time. And at that point, that's when, and we've all been there, where your diary is full. You've got a lot of meetings. You've got a really fat pipeline, and things are good. But I reached a plateau where I thought, I just can't work any harder. I'm jumping on an airplane. I'm in a rental car at 8 in the morning, driving to whatever,
Hmm.
doing meetings throughout the day, even doing quotes in the hotel bar at 12 o'clock at night just to go and do the same thing again. And that's when I started looking at, well, how do you perform at a higher level? And was fortunate enough to do a bit of work with Todd Herman, who is an elite performance coach.
Hmm.
He would have built the Black Mamba persona with Kobe Bryant, for example. I
Brilliant.
was just very fortunate that I knew who he was. And he was going online back in 2014 for the first time. So I was able to jump into one of his cohorts. And that's where I really got a view for what it takes to go on to the next level. And then fundamentally comes down to preparation.
Hmm.
And the more prepared you are, the more that you know which deals to go on and work. You end up with these really, really high close rates versus what a lot of people do is just go after everything and let a lot of deals slip. So from there, I'd met Salesforce leadership when I did a master's part time, and I remember back in 2012 hearing, "Oh, we're going to treble the size of the company this year, and we're going to do it again next year." And I was thinking, oh, of course. I mean, it's great products. Where the market's at.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, sounds nice, and it's okay, fair enough. But it's going to plateau.
Yeah.
But then 2017, 2018, it kept going, and I was still speaking with them. And I decided, oh, I've been doing this Microsoft, selling Microsoft for a very long time. Let me see what Salesforce is about.
Yeah.
4 years there, absolutely loved it. Obviously, our paths crossed there at that
Sure.
time as well,
Yeah.
Pete. But then from there, I always ended up being in the position of coaching and helping others to sell.
Hmm.
And it was more in an unofficial capacity, whether it's people I was working with or people external.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I was fortunate to be working in the tech sector with really ambitious founders and really ambitious startups. And I remember going into one meeting and this company telling me that we're going to be a unicorn. And I kind of was taken aback and laughed a little because They had 20 people working there,
Yeah.
and the product was okay, but needed a lot of work. But then got the opportunity to work with them and from a sales perspective, give input. Now, at that point, the consultation really was more about if we can get their sales team selling and if we can help them do that, they'll need more CRM, which is
Hmm.
good when you're selling CRM. But being exposed to founder after founder and sales team after sales team
Yeah.
and given was unofficial help, I then decided to basically step out and released a book, The Work Before the Work, in 2022. And that's focused on the hidden habits elite sales professionals use to outperform the competition. And that's a combination of what I've seen the best do
Hmm.
over my 16 years in the industry, but then also into a lot of the data, which I've studied and brought along with me
Yeah.
throughout. And what I mean by that is like EBSTA have these amazing reports where they will analyze $57 billion worth of pipeline and pull out what the top performers are doing.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it falls in line with what I had seen the successful people do and what I had done when I was being successful myself, and also what top performance coaches recommend. So now I'm taking all of that and operationalizing it so that sales teams can be prepared to exceed quota.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different avenues we can go down there, but that's I would
That's
say short version, but not that short an overview of how I
Well, I
got
was
where I am.
going to say, I think we only take a breath after that. Look, fantastic kind of career journey. And, having come from a technical background as well, myself, having that kind of scientific approach to sales is brilliant because, yes, there's the human element is massive and things like that, but it does kind of bring you back to numbers and being, a bit. I won't say ruthless, but certainly cutthroat on it. I like to throw trivia on the digital diary. So Sun Microsystems, when you were there, were operating 90% of the world's airlines at that time. So just a tidbit there. But look, there's a legend. Everyone has one good book in them. What actually made Paul go, I'm going to write this and I'm going to make this something? Because the idea versus action is two very different things.
It absolutely is. And I at first had the idea at a conference in 2019.
Okay.
So I went to a sales conference in London at the weekend. And my friends are like, "You're crazy. What? You're going to spend your weekend at a business conference?" And when I was sitting there, excuse me, when I was sitting there, I realized that the me helping people and me coaching people
Hmm.
has a very finite reach. Whereas if I can get the ideas down on a bit of paper into a book, they will go way, way further.
Hmm.
And also that then opens the door to further opportunities because when people take your book, they read it. If the idea of preparing your sales team to be able to prospect at an elite level, getting them to be able to sell at an elite level, is something that they would like and they like your methodology, then you then have a potential customer as well. So it's a great way to have like-minded prospects and like-minded founders who have those similar aspirations for their sales team to
Hmm.
find you, and also help an SDR who's ambitious and wants to actually make a career of this and do really well.
Yeah.
Because the barrier to entry, like books are so cheap now; they're really easily accessible. And that was when I was sitting in that conference. That's what I realized was the people who were having the biggest impact and helping the most were the ones who took the time to actually lay it out and not give it away for free because there is still a bit of a charge for a book, but it is effectively giving it away for free because there is no money to be made selling books these days.
Yeah, yeah. But that's great though because this means there's a huge passion behind it, and in my own experience, both when I was a BDR and as an AE working with them, the AEs that invest in the sales development function are the ones that get the benefit from the sales development function. And you do need to kind of sit down and coach with them and bring them in on the calls. So when I hear you saying that with your SDRs, is that kind of where you drove a lot of it, or was it obviously in Salesforce there's a whole connected ecosystem as core AEs we were working with, 8 to 10 people at any given time. Where did you kind of drive that energy and what really where did you see the impact?
Well, for me, it started in 2013,
Okay.
which is way, way, way before Salesforce. And this is when I took the role. for O2 UK and to help them sell Office 365. And I was doing technical sales back then. So what that meant was if there was a company that had 200 to 2,000 potential Office 365 users,
Hmm.
they needed a migration scoped out. So someone needed to sell the migration, but then also sell the concept of Office 365, figure out the business case behind making the move.
Yeah.
And I was in the position of carrying a sales target for a number of licenses and also for the professional services revenue. And I had to scope out what that solution was. So I was MCSA certified. I had to take site survey information from engineers, map out what that migration would look like. And that then was great. But in that role, I
Hmm.
also had to oversee the Soho team selling 1 to 10 licenses over the phone. The SME team, getting them into the position to be able to sell some of it over the phone, but then also being able to sell some of the solutions with the migrations where maybe they'd loop me or a member of my team in to do that. And as you can imagine, we've got a sales team
Hmm.
that have been selling mobile technology and internet for years really successfully. And now we're saying, sell this complex cloud solution which needs migration and professional services. So I ended up having to do a roadshow going around and coaching all of the sales teams from right down from Soho all the way up to their enterprise on how to find these opportunities, how to qualify them, and then how to progress them.
Hmm.
So at that point, then I really needed to tune into, well, how do I grab their attention? Because you're sitting in front of a sales team that are off the road for a day
Yeah.
up in Newcastle. There's 100 of them sitting at these round tables. You can't just give them this is what you need to do and be really, really boring. It has to be entertaining. It has to grab them and also has to appeal to their nature of wanting to make money. And
Yep.
you have to outline how this is very valuable for the customers and then the kickback that they're going to get and how their customers will be more sticky and that then their renewals will be much easier if they've got more of a footprint with you, all this sort of stuff. So that's where it started. And I had to really break it down into simple frameworks for people to be able to follow, because if it wasn't something I could teach them in a day or a day and a half,
Hmm.
they wouldn't start selling it. And as a result, yeah, inversely, I would be missing the target because I had to get this license. I had to get others to sell on my behalf. And that's really where it came down to, how do I teach people how to sell technical solutions?
Yeah.
And that's where I started from. So carrying and building those frameworks all the way along.
Yeah, like that's really interesting stuff. And, it reminds me of what Einstein says of, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. And I mean, you really had to go in with people who, let's be realistic, probably didn't especially want to take the day off work, to be in a hotel room while you explained a whole new process, a complex product that they'd never really heard of. They're like, hang on, I'm making money here as it is. Which nicely ties into where we were going next, which is into leadership. This is all leadership in my opinion, because leadership is not a job title, it's who you are and what you do, and you very much spearheaded this. What were the kind of key lessons and skills you had to kind of develop above and beyond your sales skills to make this work for you?
Well, what I find is you have to tune into what people wanted to do to be successful
Hmm.
and what was driving them. Because all the way along, only a handful of times have I managed people and had direct targets and direct control over them, where I could say, right, you need to do this or you need to do that. And
Hmm.
even in my opinion, that's not really great leadership if you are doing that. But a lot of the time, I've been in a position where you can't really insist upon somebody doing something, but
Hmm.
you have to show them how to do it. You have to show them why it's important, and you have to align that with where they want to go.
Hmm.
So, for example, if somebody wants to go on and work in sales leadership, if somebody wants to go on and go into technical sales, they want to go into customer success, whatever it is, I think it's really fundamental to understand what your people want to do over kind of a 1 to 3 year period, and then just list out the skills, experience, and traits that they're going to need to get into that next role, that next
Hmm.
thing, and help them get there. And when you tune into what is driving someone, and then what that means to them personally, whether it's saving for a deposit for a house, whether it's paying for a wedding, or it could be a new car, it could be anything, or it could be something for the kids. But understanding what that is and then deconstructing, this is what it will take to help you get there.
Hmm.
That's when people row in and then will follow you. And on top of that, your role as a leader, I think you're also a bit of a coach.
Yep.
So you also then need to call out different ways that people can tackle things. So it's all well and good saying you need to multi-thread, you need to have more people involved in your deals. Great. We all know that. That makes sense. We see this data all the time. But it's how do you multi-thread? So
Yeah.
it's mapping out, for example, that, okay, before your first meeting, identify the two or three personas that you would ideally want to have in this, message them and give them the opportunity to get involved and share that you'll keep them in the loop.
Yeah.
And then people who are in your meetings, then it's talking about when you're in the meetings, how you can multi-thread, afterwards, how you can do that, but giving people that. And when they do something and it works, then they tend to listen to you a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues we could go down there, but fundamentally, understanding where the person wants to go and helping them get there is really, really crucial.
I understand it. It kind of echoes nearly selling to a customer in a way of the Sandler pain funnel, like you're talking about what's personal to Paul or Pete. What do they care about? Personal motivation. I don't mind sharing. I want to be mortgage free by the time I'm 50. That's a personal goal that I attach to my work. And my manager knows that in Revolut, and she knows that this is something I really care about. So the higher I can earn, the more likely I am to do that. And she knows she always ties that back in her one-to-ones. And I'm quite happy with that. That really, really works for me. Um, we've covered quite a bit there. And what I really want to talk more and more about is the how, okay? Because as you said, we can say multi-threading, we can say that. How do we multi-thread? Because it's a bit of $1 million question, and it's the key to success in deals.
Multi-threading, it comes down to a few things, right? It's understanding who are the personas that you would want to
Hmm.
get involved in these, who are the people that need to be involved. So do we need to have IT to give it the seal of approval? Maybe we want to involve them early. Does legal need to get involved?
Hmm.
Do we want to have two or three different teams involved? Do we want to have the CFO or the economic buyer? Do we know who the economic buyer is? So in advance, figuring out who those people are,
Yep.
then just simply reaching out to them before the first meeting and letting them know that you're having a meeting. I'm meeting Pete, who's head up, is the VP of sales in your organization. We're going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. IT don't normally jump on these calls, but sometimes they're curious about how AI is now in our solution and how it can help the organization, whatever that might be. If you don't want to join, no worries. I can keep you in the loop. I can keep you updated. It's things like that. So it's mapping the account. It's going and reaching out to them, and then on top of that, you can send them an email
Hmm.
or you can connect with them on LinkedIn, start liking some of the things that they post, or start sharing something with them that can be of interest. You don't always have to be asking for stuff. You can be given things.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the meeting itself, it's calling out that you have probably sold this solution 10, 50, 100 times. Your company has probably sold this thousands of times, whatever. It will
Hmm.
vary, but you will have sold way more than the person on the other side has ever bought. And the key thing for them could be the first time they're buying. They might only buy two or three big solutions this year.
Hmm.
They may not even know how to buy. They may
Yeah.
not realize that they are going to have to sell this internally. That it will be easier for them to sell it if you're a VP of sales, if you've got a couple of the managers or a few other VPs together, then there's less of a risk on you if the solution fails. And 70% of initiatives do tend to fail in
Hmm.
organizations. And the more of those that are associated with you, the worse it is for your career.
Yeah.
So making them realize that, and then highlighting the fact that you're the expert as the seller. So
Yeah.
typically, the customers who are successful tend to involve X, Y, and Z. At what point will we bring this person in? And then there's pushback. Some people are open to it and will
Hmm.
get people involved. Others will be against it, and you might need to earn the right to get that multi-thread. So, maybe you need to speak with somebody's boss.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if this conversation goes well and you think that we might be able to solve the problem that you have, and the demo that we deliver is amazing and really hits upon the pain points, and you can see us potentially helping you, then will you open the door to sponsoring a meeting with X, Y, or Z?
Hmm.
And so there's all these different ways, but it's about having these frameworks there, and to at the very least asking the question. Because what we see is if you multi-thread to the right personas, your deals move 9 times faster.
Really.
And that's an analysis of $57 billion of pipeline in the first 6 months of this year, 560 tech companies, 9 times
Yeah.
faster. It's hard to ask. I get that. And when you get told no, But sometimes you get told, "Oh yeah, actually, no problem. Let's get that person involved. I'll get them into the next meeting."
And then that
You know,
ties beautifully into actually what you go into your pipeline and what you should be forecasting. Because, as you were saying there, you remind me of a deal I did an intercom with quite a large tech company, and the CTO was the lead buyer. And he said, "Listen," he says, "Peter, he says, I'm not going to be on every call." But he goes, "Here's the three people I want you to deal with. Here's the legal person. Can you do a Slack channel with us?" I said, "That's exactly what I was going to suggest." And then anytime I needed his approval, I just stopped mentioning him and I said, "Hey, Paul, here's the latest." And every so often you just see a tick and it was like, "I've read that, I've seen it, that's fine, keep going." And that deal just ran like clockwork. But it is where I always have a philosophy that deals are won and lost at the start. By asking those difficult questions, then it's so much better. And I think there's a real, as you say, it is a fear element, but much like even making a cold call, if you do it once or twice, you very quickly get over the fear and realize the worst Paul's going to say to me is no. I can handle that, and he's been straight with me, and then we can set what our plans are forward. Because now is a terrible time to set meetings. Like, I'm asking for January meetings right now because I know I'm finished up next Friday, and so are most of my customers. So yeah, that's a really really great point, and it ties so nicely into, say, the work before the work. We were talking about KPIs internally, and it's like, as enterprise AEs, we could spend an entire day planning an enterprise account and mapping it out before we start messaging or doing any visible activity in the CRM. So yeah, that's really, really great stuff. Great insights. I don't want to keep it too much longer, Paul. Really appreciate your time, but it would be remiss of me not to mention AI in today's hyper buzzword. I think it's every single conversation. It's a really hard question, but what do you think the next kind of 3 years are going to unveil for everything from the SDR to the RVP of sales? How is that going to impact us?
it's the big question at the moment, and even a company that's near and dear to our heart, Salesforce, have just launched their AI to help you actually update your org.
Yep.
So instead of going to an FAQ, you can now go and chat with their AI agent and get a lot better answers when you're trying to build out dashboards or whatever you're trying to do. From a sales perspective, and when I'm delivering keynotes,
Hmm.
this is a big message, and a lot of this in 2025 is going to come back to the fact that the sellers who are going to be most successful in 2025
Hmm.
are the ones who are going to show themselves to be more human than anybody else. They will be prepared, and we're expecting a higher standard from our sales teams. And it's much like if you look at Premier League football, for example, the standard, the speed, the levels, they are much higher than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a comparative jump over the next 2 or 3 years where sellers are expecting more, they're expected more. And for us, it's going to be important to use AI to make sure that we are prepared, that we're in the know, that when we have those human touch moments, that we're able to deliver. What does that look like? It looks like more face-to-face meetings when
Hmm.
you can with the right deals. It looks like picking up the phone as opposed to sending that email, because for me, I've got an AI tool that responds to my emails automatically and it writes them pretty good and it looks like I've done that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the people who speak as opposed to the people who just, yeah, hit send, that's fine. And that's okay for your admin emails, but for the customers that you're speaking with, you've got to go a little bit above and beyond. Then it's into updates, voice notes, whether it's on LinkedIn or short videos if you're
Hmm.
updating people throughout. And I think fundamentally that is going to be the key point. And what we saw this year is that 16% of sales reps
Hmm.
have closed over 83% of revenue in that same report that I mentioned a little bit earlier across the $57 billion of pipeline. That gap is going to get bigger. So the lazy sellers who are using AI when it's kind of forced upon them
Hmm.
are going to continue to kind of truck along like that. But then the top sellers, the ones who are using AI to be prepared, basically to be the prepared seller,
Hmm.
they're the ones that are going to continue to win big. So it's really incumbent on us to learn how to use AI to prepare ourselves for every situation and then to lean into the human side.
Yeah.
That I think is the big difference this year and something that thankfully we can control to an extent.
I agree. I think AI is here to enhance us as a whole, and it is that kind of personal connection. And as technology becomes more pervasive in our life, I find myself, constantly needing to connect a bit more. So when I try and exercise, yeah, I have a few weights in the house, but I still go to the gym as a preference because even if I don't chat to people in great detail, I'm seeing other human beings. It's what we want, and I think it's what will really happen in the sales cycle is that it will advance a little bit further in terms of nurturing, but when they are ready, as you say, it's got to be about being 100% prepared and ready to go. Um, Paul, I really want to thank you for your time. We'll wrap up now. I just want to say that your insights have been absolutely phenomenal. Congratulations on the book and your success. And I always admire anyone who goes out on their own. So kudos to you for that. Wish you continued success. If someone wants to get in touch with Paul, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch is go to paulcaffrey.com. There is details there of weekly workshops that I run that you
Mm,
can join for free to get some of this training and coaching.
excellent.
Also, if you want to if you want to bench yourself against the top sellers in the industry, there is an assessment that you can take there as well, also free, which is very, very useful.
Hmm.
And then, other than that, on LinkedIn, you'll find me, Paul Caffrey, on LinkedIn. Well, I guess we'll get the link into the show notes.
Yep.
Give me a shout. Let me know you heard me here on Pete's show, and I'll definitely get back and have a chat with you. And Pete, best of luck with the digital diaries. I'm looking forward to seeing the success it brings for you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, it is as successful as the book. It's been a pleasure. Have a good day, Paul.